Hello, everyone. It's Lori Lewis, the director, with another episode of the Before the Big Day podcast. So excited to have this guest in the guest chair today. This is Michelle of Lemiga Events. We were talking before we went on air how I'm in Michigan. It is less than 20 degrees, and she's down in Atlanta. Where the weather's fluctuating, but it's still not as cold as it is in Michigan. But I just want to welcome Michelle to the guest chair and thank you so much for coming on the podcast to provide all things about luxury weddings. So welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to have this conversation today.
Absolutely, absolutely. So tell us a little bit about Lemiga Events, how it started, where the name comes from, all the good stuff.
Sure. So I'm based in Atlanta, Georgia. We travel worldwide for events, but I specialize in full service planning and event design. And we are really for the clients that want to walk in the room and say, wow, they want their guests to have an amazing out of the box experience. And we're really big on taking ordinary details about our couple's personality, their style, and just turning them into glamorous, magical events.
Yes, and if you follow you on Instagram, oh my goodness, the things that you do. So where does the name come from, Lemiga Events?
So when I was naming my company, I feel like the hardest thing to do is name a company. I've
Hmm.
had several, and that's always I have a great idea, but what are we going to call it? And in the wedding and events world, I just felt like a lot of names sounded very similar, like Circle of Love and Bliss, and So I was looking for something that was really unique. And my the name that I go by is Michelle. It's very common. And so I took the first two initials of my first, middle, and last name. And so my first name is Layleen, my middle name is Michelle, my last name is Gainey, and then I came up with Lemiga. So it was a made up word. It didn't exist. It doesn't mean anything. And it was hard to say, but I knew you would never confuse me with anyone else. The domain and social media handles are always available. So it just kind of allowed me to kind of create my own made up word that represented all things fabulous in weddings and events.
And it's worldwide known. So I love it. Lemiga.
Yes,
Yes.
thank you.
Awesome. So let's get into the wedding planning as far as luxury wedding planning. Where does, we're coming up on Valentine's Day and
Mhm.
folks got engaged, Christmas, New Year's. And so if a couple is really sitting down, they're like, I want a luxury wedding. Where do they begin?
So a luxury wedding is different for everybody in terms of budget. And certainly in a city where you are, what you consider luxury budget might be different from where I am because location, definitely dictates what things cost, how much it
Mhm.
costs to bring, ship flowers and all that good stuff. But I think luxury is about the experience.
Mm,
Um, my typical client is a very busy professional. They know what they want, but they don't have the time or the desire to handle all the details and get it done. And the ultimate luxury is time. You can
mm,
buy a lot of things, that what you can't buy is time. And so in the luxury market, you typically have a client that is, I want you to handle everything. I want, a white glove experience where I know you're taking care of every detail and I'm trusting you and I know that you're going to lead me through this process. And then in turn, the experience for your guests is no different. So we're thinking through, okay, we're not just having, a ceremony, a cocktail hour, reception. What is the story that we're telling? How are we going to surprise and delight our guests? How are we going to give them, you know, an experience where everyone has a seat and they are served and
mhm.
everything they could think of is available to them. So it's really just creating an experience is what I feel like luxury is.
So in describing that experience, and again, there's several events you posted I could reference, but so every
Mhm.
couple has an experience or a story to tell, and then that evolves into the design, right?
Yes. So I think another aspect of luxury is customization.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't have packages. I don't have a standard formula of how, this is what your event has to be. It really is personalized and customized based on the couple, their personality, their style, and what they want their day to represent. And, even if I'm at the same venue
Hmm.
5 times with the same color scheme, it should always look and feel different because every couple is different. So what I do is I there is no box. I always tell my wedding clients the only thing you have to do on your wedding day is get married. That's it.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
it. Everything else is up for debate. It's up for discussion. It's a matter of what you want your day to look like and feel like. Um, but they don't have to worry that anything's going to get missed. They don't
Hmm.
have to worry about, oh, I forgot about this or I forgot about that, because I'm keeping the big picture in mind and I'm guiding them through the process. So it's my job and my, what I kind of hold dear to show my clients what's possible. They don't know. And I don't focus on show me pictures on Pinterest
Okay.
or, you know, of course I want to see the pictures that they like because that will kind of give me a sense of their style, especially when people say, oh, I want an elegant wedding. Well, elegant wedding to you is very different than it is for the next person. So when I see those visuals, it helps make sure that I'm on the same page as they are in terms of what elegant is. But what I do is I ask them questions like, where do they like to go on date night?
Okay.
Um, where did he propose? What's your favorite designer store? Where do you
Okay.
like to travel? What colors are in your closet? When um when I have a client that is asking for, you know an all white wedding, but every time I see them they're dressed in this vibrant colors and they have a vibrant personality, I'm
Mm.
gonna wonder, like, do you feel like you have to have a white wedding just because that's what you think a wedding is? If you're surrounded by color in your everyday life, and it may be that you just truly want something completely different, but I want the wedding to look and to feel like my couple, and I want them to not in 10 years regret the decisions that they made, or it feel like, oh, that was like a version of what I thought a wedding should be, but it doesn't really represent who we are. So
Mhm.
instead of them saying, okay, here are pictures, go recreate this, I kind of deconstruct the feeling that they want. So if they tell me, I want a fun wedding from the time the guests walk in to the time they walk out, I want everyone dancing and partying, I'm not going to suggest a seated serve dinner, because then a good portion of the night they're sitting down
Right.
and you're kind of bringing that energy level down, versus knowing like they want people up and dancing the whole time, I'm probably going to do stations, but they wouldn't know to ask and they wouldn't know that difference. So it's starting with the feeling that they want to have, they want their guests to have, who they are, their personality, their style, and then putting the pieces together. And then I present to them, like, this is how I think your wedding should look like and feel like. And then we go back and forth editing it, but I present them the vision based on probably details that they never thought even mattered.
And that's Michelle, that's a skill. I'm a teacher, when I'm not doing weddings. And what you described is really you have this discernment based on
Mhm.
what they explain to you, based on the questions that you ask them. And so where do you attribute that skill from? Because that's a design. I don't know what your background is, or
Yeah.
maybe that's where it comes from.
Well, it's interesting because growing up, I always thought I was going to be an attorney. I was never
Mm.
creative. I got a degree in political science. I was going to go to law school. And then I got married, and that kind of like introduced me to the world of weddings and events, and that kind of perfect combination of creativity and that type A logistical side of my personality
Mhm.
um, came together, and that's how I initially got it started in this industry. But I have over time developed, like, I've been doing this for 15 years. So over time I have developed a process that I feel like fits me and my style and resonates with my target client. So, I always say I'm definitely for the client that feels as though they have a sense of style and they have a sense of what they want the end to look like, but they trust me to
Hmm.
deliver that.
Yes.
I'm not a great fit for a client that's like, okay, I want ABC and just go do that. Then you don't need my vision. And there's a great planner out there for you that's going to be a great fit to take your ideas and run with them and just execute them. But my clients, they want to feel like I've taken their ideas and I've elevated them. I've taken them to the
Hmm.
next level. And
Hmm.
they don't even know how to describe it. They don't even know how to explain it, but they see it once I
Yeah.
reveal it. And in terms of discernment, I think it is probably a personality trait. I
Hmm.
love getting to know people's stories. I love getting to know, what makes them smile, what makes them happy, and really finding ways to weave that story into the design. And I think that is part of what makes our event so magical is every event I can look back on and it has a story behind it. I didn't just do something because it was beautiful. I really put meaning into it. And I tell them it doesn't matter how beautiful the room is. If you look back and you see those hidden meanings in the details, it's just gonna mean so much more to you and mean more to your guests. And so that's really what I focus on. And there's like a heartfelt sentiment behind all the beauty we create.
Yeah, absolutely. So, how do you, once you design, and I'm sure you have
Mhm.
a team, do you also get to enjoy the couple at their event? I don't know how long you stay for
Yes.
the event, or, are you also designing and
Hmm.
installing?
So
But go ahead.
yeah, so I specialize in full service planning and design.
Right.
So design is a big part of my job and what I deliver for my clients, but so is planning and logistics.
Hmm.
Um, I do both because I want to make sure that the experience is fully intact from beginning to end. And it doesn't matter how beautiful something is if you know, the food arrives late or, guests don't have a place to sit or things are poorly planned, like it kills the whole vibe. So I do oversee not only the design, but the day of installation, making sure every detail is exactly the way that I know my client wants it to be. And I think there's a level of comfort there because
Hmm.
I've been with them the whole time, the whole process. By the time we get to the day, like they're not even worried. They're like, Michelle's got it. We know
Right.
she knows us. She knows exactly the way I want it. And they're really able to let go and just enjoy it. And for me, it's gratifying. Like all the months of working and planning and, to see their faces when they walk in the room, to see their guests walk in, like it that that's like my moment. That's what I live for. Why I do this.
Absolutely. Yes. So, backing up a little bit. So, before a couple decides they want a luxury wedding, and again, they just got engaged, where do you want them to start? Where would a couple begin? Even before they contacted you, what do they need to sit down and do?
So the two main things are budget and guest count.
Hmm.
Um, a budget, everybody hates that conversation. They hate the word, they hate giving the number, but everybody, I don't care if my client's spending six figures or 50,000, like everybody has a budget.
Hmm.
And once we know what that range is that you feel comfortable in, like anytime someone's like, well, I don't really know what my budget is, I don't really have one. I say, okay, 100,000. They're like, oh, well, I wasn't thinking that much. Okay, so then you do have a number.
Right.
You just don't want to say it, but you don't want to waste your time. You don't want to sell this big vision and then it not be within the realm of possibility. You don't want to waste your time looking at venues that don't correlate with your budget. So really sit down, have a heart to heart, and know like what is that range that you're like, I feel good about this number. And then that way a planner will be able to tell you, okay, yes, this is great, we can run with it, or you're gonna have to, and that's the next question that comes into mind is your guest count. Because a $50,000 wedding for 50 guests is very different than a $50,000 wedding for 200 guests.
Yes.
And so if you can't give me a realistic expectation of how many guests you're going to have, I can't really tell you, okay, this is going to be enough or it's not going to be enough. Um, and so many times people guess and they don't really know. And I always suggest like actually start writing down names. And what you'll notice is one address does not equal one name. An address could be 4 people in a house. And so then when you think that you have 50 people and you send out 50 invitations, now it's 100 people, it's 120 people. So until you start writing down those names, that's when you'll be able to get a more realistic expectation of the guest count. And so then with the guest count and the budget, then we can really guide you and into the conversation of, okay, we can definitely do a luxury event for this, or realistically, you're going to need to get your guest count, down in half if this is the budget that you're comfortable with. I always, people hate talking about money, but I always want my couples to feel good about the money that they're spending, knowing where the money is going, and have realistic expectations. I don't want to book someone and they're like, I can't serve McDonald's for this. Like, it does me no good. It does them no good. You have, disappointed clients. I just want to have that conversation up front so they know what to expect, what they're getting into, and then we can like move forward, making sure that we're on the same page with what they want to spend.
Absolutely. Yeah, the money question is always the big one. Well, I don't know. How
Yeah.
much should I spend? No, how much
Yeah.
can you spend?
Can you
And
spend?
right. And the goal is never for you to go into debt. So who
No,
wants to be
no.
done with a wedding and you're in all this debt? So Pinterest board or no Pinterest board?
Um, I like a Pinterest board, but not to follow. You know what Pinterest board I love is if they have like a fashion Pinterest board or a home interior Pinterest board. Love those. It tells me so much more about their style than just wedding photos. But
Okay.
I will definitely take a Pinterest board and then go off road. But I want to at least see visually what they're thinking first.
Gotcha. Because some are like, I hate Pinterest boards and I love Pinterest boards and I have the home boards and
Mm-hmm.
business boards and eating boards. So, okay.
Yes.
So definitely Pinterest board. Wow. Well, thank you so much. That was great advice, for those who are watching, those who are listening. Because like I said, we're coming up on Valentine's Day. So you're going to have couples that are eager to get started with their planning.
Yeah.
So I just appreciate you. And for those that want to reach out to you, can you share with us how to reach out to you?
Sure. So our website is www.lemiga.com. That's Lemiga. And then we're on Instagram at Lemiga.
Love it. Thank you for your time. I know you're busy. You're doing wonderful things. Those of you that are not following Lemiga on Instagram, you've got to follow, because the events you do are just out of sight. And like you said, none of your events or weddings, there's no two alike. Everything is unique, and it'd be lovely to hear some of the stories behind some of the events. And you do share that, so I do read that. So
Thank you.
yeah, thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank
Yes.
you.